NAMM 2020 is done and dusted. We've seen Roland come out all guns blazing with a new acoustic-like line of drums. There's been mixed showings from other drum companies, and we've even been introduced to some new players on the electronic drum scene. I'm going to round up what we've seen and I'm going to give you my take on all of that and more. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the eDrum Workshop. I'm Luke and I hope you're having a great day. The electronic drum market is finally starting to speed up a little bit, so to make sure you don't miss out on anything to do with electronic or hybrid drums, hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of my new uploads. I think it's safe to say that Roland have probably been the biggest talking point from NAMM this year. Whether you like their new kits or not, everyone's been talking about them. The worrying thing for me though is more to do with the lack of presence in the conversation for everybody else this year. We know that Roland tend to dominate the discourse when they bring out new products. They've got a massive budget and they're the market leader, it's inevitable. But I was really hoping for a lot more solid information from other companies. I was really hoping for a bigger showing from ATV this year after the radio silence from last year's announcements. They showed off the awesome looking Artist Pro line last year and the ATV Link module which could expand their AD5 module. But these were both mysteriously absent and instead we got a bit of a look at some new sounds from Canopus, an iPad app and the ability to make custom kits on the Sound Store for their lower EXS models. All of these things are fine, but it kind of feels like they've brought us our side salad and forgotten the main course. It's worrying me a little bit about ATV's place in the market. There's now sort of becoming a precedent for them unveiling a product, getting the eDrum community hyped up, but then changing the conversation to something a bit smaller and ultimately less impressive. The talk of the ATV Link has been going on for quite some time now. I remember there being an image of it released on their website probably 2 years ago at this point. Then of course it was shown off to some capacity last year, but I find it really strange that it hasn't already come to market. It sort of feels like the want or the need for this product has maybe come and gone a little bit. I'm sure it'd still be very useful for AD5 owners who like it and they just want a bit more out of it, but that's already quite a limited use case. And with new products beginning to emerge, it feels like maybe a new module might be a better move for ATV than holding out much longer for this ATV Link. And the Artist Pro line not showing up is quite worrying too. I understand that these flagship models and components are probably very expensive to do the R&D for, and to produce and to bring them to the market. So I'm thinking that their refocus on the lower tier for a while probably made sense from a financial standpoint. Get some of that money back in after investing so heavily into their eDrums and cymbal line. You can't come out all guns blazing every day, it's impossible to sustain. But it is a little bit confusing for a lot of consumers who originally saw them gunning for one sector of the market, those who want their eDrums to feel more like an acoustic kit, and are now watching them reprioritise towards pad kits, and even seemingly drop from mentioning their acoustic style drums at all. It makes me wonder if there's something going on behind the scenes financially. I hear that the US trade tariffs have hit them pretty hard, and I guess in this sort of current culture of big reveals and internet hype, it must be really difficult for a company like ATV to manage people's expectations. They want to come out of the gate with these great but expensive products, but sometimes business priorities shift. Where this used to sort of happen behind closed doors before things had been fully announced, nowadays products are shown off before they're even truly developed properly, and all this reshuffling down the line seems to unfold before our very eyes. This can end up stirring people up in ways that it probably shouldn't do and probably never would have done before. I don't mean to look like I'm writing ATV off here though, I'm just hoping that it's some business stuff that gets ironed out. ATV have brought some really solid products to the industry, and really they've kind of led the way in helping move it all along. Their 3-cone trigger design and thinner cymbals are being adopted by pretty much everybody at the moment, including Roland, and they're a huge boost to playability for a lot of people. I think that the ATV ride cymbal that I've got feels amazing to play, and I hope they continue coming out with these great products and really pushing the envelope, because to be honest, before they came along, the scene wasn't really moving along at a very interesting pace. I'm going to be going into that particular aspect a lot more in depth in the video that I'm bringing out on Monday, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But yeah, the apparent U-turn on promises made last year is quite disheartening, especially with the competition being so much stronger than it was a few years ago. It isn't all doom and gloom though, as according to reports from Peter Warren on the V-Drums forum, ATV are suggesting that they're still coming. So hopefully that is indeed the case and we'll see them down the line. Moving over to the GEWA G9, I was also expecting a proper showing of the module and the kit, and I believe that this did happen to some degree if you were present at the show, but so far I've only really seen the one Eric Moore promo video and a single video from Toman where they showed off the 3 kit configurations and a few of the onboard sounds. There was another video or two put out before NAMM, but I'm going to focus mainly on what's happened this past week. I don't think that I was aware that there's going to be 3 models of this kit, but it does make some sense. They've gone the route of having their full flagship set with 4 toms, the snare, 18-inch kick and the cymbal set, and that's called the G9C Pro C6. Naming conventions just don't get any better, do they? But there's also a smaller version of the same kit with 1 less tom, the Pro C5, and then the lowest level pad setup that looks to have a bit of a different rack. They all look fine, and it's good to have different pricing options available within the same brand. They're keeping the same module and I believe the same cymbal set between each of the kits. And the pad setup still has the 18-inch kick with it, which I think helps the image of it all. The sound demo from the Toman video showed off 3 kits. 2 of them were like acoustic light kits and 1 of them was electronic. The sounds actually do seem better than ones that I've previously heard. Definitely nicer overall than the standard Roland offerings, but definitely not up there with the Mimic or a full-blown VST. I'm also quite interested in how they're marketing this as like a full-blown workstation rather than just an electronic drum kit. I think that's a pretty good approach. They've included some really handy features like a PDF reader for sheet music and that kind of thing, a set list manager, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connectivity for music and accessing their sound store directly from the module, so there will be downloadable sounds available too. And the interface from what I've seen looks pretty decent too. Some of the ways that you adjust the parameters might be a little bit fiddly, but I would have to try that in person to know for sure. And I do like the inclusion of the additional knobs as well as the touchscreen. But to be fair, you could find most of this information out before NAMM. They released a line of quick start videos a few months ago. Other than the kit configurations and the few sounds that we've heard, there's not really a great deal of new stuff to go on. I don't think we're any the wiser on release dates or prices from what I've heard, but let me know if I'm wrong on that. This seems like a really conservative way of getting the news out about this product. Maybe they don't want to show off too much too early, but on the flip side, we did hear about this kit a long time ago now. And I do believe it's supposed to be out pretty soon. So it does make you wonder why they're not showing off more and properly demoing it. I'm really interested in it, but it's really difficult to get excited without seeing a lot more. Maybe with them being a European company, they're waiting for a more European-focused trade event or something to show it off properly, but I'm not really sure, to be honest. And then we got a new contender on the eDrum scene, F-Note. This one has just kind of popped up with very little fanfare, but again is sort of understandable without the resources of a large company. The F-Note 5 was the first one that I found out about from some NAMM photos being shared to Facebook groups, and it's another company that are coming out with acoustic style electronic drums. I'm fine with that, they look quite nice. Their cymbals look decent and appear to be in a good range of sizes. On this kit you get 14-inch hats, a 16-inch crash, an 8-inch splash, and an 18-inch ride cymbal, which I think is great. However, the pad sizes do leave a less exciting impression. They've gone for 12-inch pads for the snare and the floor tom and 10-inch rack toms. I do think it's fine to have these options, but obviously if you're gunning for that acoustic-like market, having the larger pads tends to be a really big selling point. The head sizes here are kind of what Roland and other manufacturers have offered on their pad kits for years, and small snares and floor toms are one of the main complaints from those that want acoustic-style kits. An odd choice. I don't really mind the 16-inch kick quite as much. I think that the head sizes are less important on the kick drums and they still look decent on stage in my opinion, and it does keep it really portable, but there's definitely many people out there that would disagree. The hi-hat also appears on one of the photos to be using a 6-pin connector. They look like the old PS2 connectors that they used to use for a keyboard or a mouse on PCs. This also seems like a very strange choice. Apparently it uses an optical sensor for the hi-hat control like ATV does too, but I have no idea if those two things are related other than both being for the hi-hat. It will be interesting to see why they've gone this route, whether it actually offers any functionality, or if it's just some kind of prototype idea or something. From doing further research on their website and on their Instagram account, it looks like they've got a few kits planned. The F-Note 3, which is like a shallower shelled pad version with a kick tower instead of a full-size kick drum, but still running the same module, and the 3X, which looks basically the same but with some extra stuff, and then the F-Note 7, which was revealed at NAMM. I've only actually seen one thing from this so far. I've not managed to see any photos of the full setup, but what I have seen does look great. A 20-inch ride cymbal. So that's really cool. I'd like to see more companies come out with this size cymbal. I'm not really sure why I haven't found any other photos yet. Maybe I'm just following the wrong sources. So I'm not really sure if that particular kit is bringing much else new to the table. It could have larger pads for all I know, so if this information's already out by the time I upload this, make sure you let me know. Interestingly, from the photos, the snares on these kits appear to be using the same kind of rim riser attachment that ATV uses, and the drums and the cymbals are all using multi-sensors in the same way too. And the similarities don't stop there. F-Note is made up of some employees that recently left Roland, much like how ATV was founded. I actually really like their blurb about this. In 2018, skilled engineers with a 20-year career who felt the limits of product development at a major electronic musical equipment manufacturer in Japan gathered together pursuing flexible ideas that are not tied to cost and the non-logical attraction of musical instruments. That's a pretty obvious swipe, and it tickled me. The module also looks to be pretty small and kind of designed to a similar idea as ATV's module, but with a touchscreen rather than all buttons. I'm interested to see more on that. It's not in the same vein as the Mimics or the G9's touchscreens. It looks closer to the kind of screen that you'd find on like a Roland module, but it's larger and it's touch enabled. Hopefully it'll be really usable, but it does look pretty small. I've read a little bit of feedback about the sounds on the eDrums forum. Once again, Peter Warren had tried this out at NAMM and he said, "It sounds nice and plays smooth. The sounds are nice and crisp, but almost identical to the AD5 type of stereo mix. There is a reverb built in and EQ per drum. The big downfall is no future sounds can be added. I always do 16th notes on the closed hi-hat and the sample pool sounds exactly the same as the AD5. Pretty good, but I can hear them repeating. I like the reverb and the EQ options being available. I think it's a really good addition, and that does help set it apart from the ATV AD5, which is missing those features. So this does kind of seem to be a case of ex-Roland employees doing a similar thing to other ex-Roland employees. I'm sure that these will play and feel really good if what ATV have accomplished is anything to go by. Previous Roland staff are definitely going to be very capable. But I am kind of wondering how much space there is in this section of the market. However, there has been talk of a price point of around $1,500, and that does sound like a very good price point to try and hit. If they do bring these kits out around these price points and they play well and they feel good and they sound at least as good as ATV's 85, then they might actually be onto a winner there. That section of the market could really do with more competition, and I think that these choices at this price point could be really good for the eDrum scene. So fingers crossed they do really well, because I do like more choice. And I think that's pretty much everything major other than Roland's announcements. Though please do comment below if I've missed anything. It's not been that easy to keep up with all this between working. If you want filling in with more depth on Roland's announcements and my take on it, I did a first impressions video on the kit reveal and the specs when they first announced it, so go check that out, there's a link down in the description. On Monday I'm going to be putting out a Future of eDrums in 2020 video, where I'll be discussing in much more depth the way that the industry is shaping up this year. We've seen the kits now, we know what everybody's planning, but is this the right direction for the electronic drum industry as a whole? And after some of the praise that I've been giving Roland in the previous video, I do have a fair bit to say on how Roland are currently approaching the market. And it isn't all super positive, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. Pop a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and let me know down in the comments what you think of these kits and how they're shaping up. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers! Their refocus on the lower tier for a while probably made sense from a financial standpoint. What? A setlist manager...